So you may think that you have nothing to do with private equity, but let me tell you that you are living in private equity's world. Rent a house or an apartment, most likely private equity is your landlord. If you take your pet to the vet, most likely private equity owns that veterinary service. If you shop or work at a supermarket, private equity probably owns that too. And if you go to see the doctor, well, private equity has been buying up doctors' practices like crazy, and you may be seeing a doctor whose practice is owned by private equity. Let me tell you about two really big discoveries I made in studying hospice. I was just amazed at how rapidly private equity and for-profit hospices are taking over the industry. In Mississippi and Louisiana, for example, there is only one non-profit hospice operating in each of these states. All the rest of the hospices are for-profit. Initially, hospice was provided by non-profit agencies that were interested in caring for the dying, helping them live out their final days at home and die with dignity. In 1983, the hospice benefit was established as part of Medicare, and that means that the government pays for this care. Well, steady payment by Medicare was a lure for for-profit agencies. They just wanted to get in there and collect that money. They came really by this time to dominate the industry. More than 2/3 of hospices today are for-profit agencies, and the hospice industry is a booming $20 billion a year business. Private equity owned hospices focus on maximizing profit. They promise high returns to their investors, and they need to do this in a relatively short period of time. And so there are a couple of things that they do. One is that they cut back on patient care, fewer visits by anyone, and some visits inappropriately use less skilled workers. For example, sending an EMT to visit a cancer patient who really needs the services of a skilled nurse. A second thing that they do is they actively recruit people who are not dying. They go to senior centers, places like that, and promise people all kinds of benefits to sign up. But as these people are not dying, the private equity-owned hospice can collect the daily payment from Medicare without having to provide care for dying people. But this is very profitable for the hospice. It's bad for the patient because what patients often don't realize is that they have lost their other healthcare benefits. The only Medicare healthcare benefits they get are to relieve pain or anxiety. They don't get any other kind of care. If you are in a private equity-owned hospice, you are less likely to get a visit from a nurse in the last week of life, which of course is when you need that nurse the most to make sure that your pain is being managed, your anxiety is being managed, and that the family understands what are the stages of death. Care for the family is as important in hospice as the care for the patient. And then for the workers, what we find is that if they report problems, they are often fired. In addition, they are pressured to lie on the forms they fill out about patients in order for the patient to be recruited by the agency or to remain in the agency's care, even though they are not dying and not eligible for hospice. Let me tell you something about the profit margins in for-profit hospices is 19%. 19%, where does that come from? Compared to just 6% in nonprofit hospices. Hospice providers are paid more than $200 a day for every day that patients are enrolled. For-profit hospices, especially the ones owned by private equity, which have to make a profit in a relatively short period of time, they also recruit patients that are going to require less care and remain alive for a longer period of time so that they can keep on collecting that money. So it's really important that we understand that the private equity model is not based on care for customers or patients, it's based on maximizing profit. So we at CEPR are doing our best to combat this by educating the public to what private equity is and how it operates, and also to suggesting to Congress things that they can do to rein in the profit-making activities of private equity that go on at the expense of patients. Whoever is elected president needs to tell Medicare that it has to close the loopholes in its method of paying for healthcare services in hospice, in home health, in Medicare Advantage. It has to close the loopholes that let private equity and other financial actors earn high profits at the expense of patient care. I hope you found this helpful. Please continue to contribute to CEPR by making a contribution right now.